Hi, I'm Fred, and this is Vlogmas 2020. Today's beer is Snow on the Maple Tree Imperial Stout. It's got a bunch more words under it too. Stout aged in maple bourbon barrels from Clown Shoes Barrel Series. There's just a lot of words in this can. Good stout, like motor oil, but not fresh motor oil, like old motor oil. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get this entire can into this glass. Chocolatey. Oh, I guess that's supposed to be maple. Tastes weirdly chocolatey. Okay, let's get down to it. Today's title is Am I Woke Yet? Short answer, no. There, video over. I almost didn't do this. I have nothing written on it. I have no notes. I just have the title and that short answer. Something recently I saw, though, on Twitter made me second guess it. And it was the fact, it was a conversation on Black Twitter about white people using the term woke and the fact that it seems to only ever be used sarcastically, heavy air quotes, jokingly. That's not what I wanted to do. That's not even what I wanted to do when I wrote it down originally. I wanted to point out that, you know, as much as I try to work on myself with regards to any kind of social issue, I know that I'm always going to do things wrong. I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm always going to try to learn and improve myself. So my answer to that question will always be no. Coughing is going on again, just like last night. Great. So what does that mean? Nothing. It means I'm aware there's an issue. I would say obviously, but that is not obvious to a lot of people. There is a larger issue, you know, in our world and our society, dealing, especially in this case, with race. There are examples everywhere, and some people either refuse to see them or to see how bad they are or to acknowledge it. I mean, we're humans. We're really good at avoiding the actual issues or avoiding our own culpability, certainly. And it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to look at yourself and realize that, you know, you've, through, you know, overt or covert means, hurt someone else. I grew up, no doubt, I could probably list examples if I thought about it, doing microaggressions on all sorts of people who I considered my friends. I'm certain I still do it today. I try not to, obviously, but I don't think we can. I was just watching a video on YouTube, actually, and it used a phrase or a word that I have used in the past, and I think it's a good term here, is internalized. Internalized misogyny, internalized racism, internalized everything else. The fact of it is our society teaches us to be these things. It teaches us to see each other as different. And why is that? Well, instinctually, it's because humans are tribal in the fact that we form close-knit bonds, and anyone outside those bonds is suspect because they're rivals for materials, for breeding, for anything else, for food, you know, food and living, essentially. So we all see each other as rivals. Unfortunately, now with a greater society, we've kind of expanded beyond that, but it still comes down to, you know, if someone's different than you, then they are not to be trusted. And in the U.S. especially, different oftentimes is looking different. We can break it down further. I mean, you look at me, I'm a fat guy. I grew up as a fairly fat guy. That is how I'm different from a lot of people. Or at least seen as different, even though, let's face it, whether or not obesity is an epidemic in this country, it's certainly a lot more fat people than there used to be. So I'm not that different anymore, and yet I still am seen as different. That's my one thing, though. I'm, you know, a cishet white guy. I'm the example of privilege, and I don't mean that in any kind of joking manner. It's true. I am not opulent. I am not rich. I don't think I can be opulent. I think I used that word wrong. Like when people say, you know, Jewish people are kosher. No, they keep kosher based on what they eat, or they don't. There's the old joke from Monty Python when they were talking about the British Navy always eating each other, and someone asked if someone else was kosher, and it says depends on how we kill them. Ha ha ha. But the point is that I've had opportunities just by looking how I look, by being who I am. Some of those are negated by my weight. Yes, they always have been, always will be. That's fine for me, but only because the other aspects of my inherent privilege outweigh that. And I always know they will. So I don't get down on myself for my weight. Sometimes I want to lose weight, sometimes I don't care. Just how it is. But in other cases, there are, you know, on the flip side of things, I don't want to do the same things to do those things to other people. And it's beyond trying to treat other people with respect. There's a term, two examples. Midwesterners are obviously classified or having the nice, you know, Midwestern nice. I equate that with Southern hospitality. I spent several years growing up in the deep South, and I did not like the people there. I remember having lots of friends, but overall, I mean, individuals were fine, but overall, I didn't. And it was because I saw Southern hospitality as being polite to your face and mean behind your back. Midwestern nice is the same way. And the same reason that people complain about people, especially in New York and also California, is that they're too mean. Well, that's because they're direct. And yeah, directness can mean lack of tact, but it can also mean telling you the truth so that you can both or all of you arrive at the same point without any confusion. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. You know, you probably want a little bit of tact, but you want a heck of a lot of honesty, and I don't think we're being honest with each other or ourselves. So when I asked the question of myself, am I woke yet? Then no, I'm not. And that's because it's always a process. It's not a destination. Every day I'm on social media and I get riled up about something or another. I try to temper my reaction based on who I'm talking to, what I'm saying. And I try to ask more questions. I feel much more comfortable telling someone who grew up similar to that I did, in other words, a straight white man, that they're wrong or that they might be wrong than I am with anyone else. And that's because inherently we're on equal footing. Whether or not I think that, you know, I think that we're equal or someone else thinks that we're equal doesn't matter. I know that by background, this person has the same amount of advantages that I've had just by being born the way I was. That plenty of other people don't have because they are different than what has become the default standard of white guy, which is inherently wrong as well. And that's part of the problems with it, with the whole idea of trying to be aware of what you're doing and what you're saying, and the idea of internalized negativity. Our language itself dictates what we're feeling and thinking. I've been trying to remove ableist language from my vocabulary for years now. And it's much more than not saying the R word. It's much more about avoiding other words that have been used in the past to, at first, describe people with differences, but then to mock them and mock other people for being like that. And it's difficult because those are words I just grew up saying without thinking about it. But now I try to think about them. I don't always do a great job. There are certain words I find myself using I don't mean to, and I try not to, and I try to back away from it and apologize if I do, even if I'm just with one or two people. I don't need to, you know, accidentally target a group with my language and only apologize if a person in that group is there. I try to apologize in those situations, even if someone from that group isn't there. And by that way, I teach myself and I hopefully teach people around me to kind of monitor their language and teach the next generation and generations after us to monitor their language. So we finally get to a spot where we can talk to each other, we can communicate, but we can do it without hurting each other, even, you know, in a minor ways. Try to have a serious conversation here, kitty. Stop rubbing my leg. So yeah, that's where we are here. It's a heavy topic. I encourage you to think about it for yourself. Be a little hard on yourself. Be hard on yourself for the way that you instinctively treat people, not really how you treat people, but how you see them, how you react. The thing of it is, we are tribal people. We are going to have internal reactions to those we see that we cannot stop. Our brain gets short-circuited. But before we say things, before we act, that's where our brain kicks in, and we can change our internal monologue so that it is more inclusive, so we are being more welcome, so we are embracing the differences between us. I think that just helps. I think that helps for everyone. And it's hard. It's not something that's easy, or else it would be a problem. We've already done it. So it's going to be one of those rare times where I give you advice. And I would like you to follow it. Read up. Read books by authors you don't know. Talk to people who look different from you, come from different backgrounds. Start easy. If you grew up in, well, let's face it, much of the Midwest, you see a lot of people look just like you, not people that look different. So it can be hard to find people that are different from you to talk to. But, you know, that's what visiting the big city is about. Big city. It's also where social media actually excels for a change. Go on Twitter. Follow people you've never heard of that come from completely different backgrounds, different countries. If that's too much, too bad. Reach out. Talk to people. You're not going to make friends of everyone. Don't try. And don't ask a bunch of questions. Don't put your problems onto other people. Just listen. And if they ask a question, answer it. If you have a question, ask. Some people will take offense, some won't. That's just how it is. You got to deal with the consequences of people not understanding you. And through that, maybe you can learn to understand yourself better. I try. I fail all the time. And yeah, it aggravates me. I try not to kick myself about too many things, but it happens. So it's something I need to accept, something I work on all the time. I encourage you to as well. Don't have a toast. Don't care. Watch these videos. Or not. I mean, let's face it. If you're here, you're one of my friends. If you're one of my friends, your background is very similar to mine. We're not that diverse of a group. Let's try to change that. Cheers.